Hey, it's quite the storm here, so I apologise if you're hearing the rain on my window throughout this video, but there's not a lot I can do about it, and time lapse is on, and I gotta put videos out, so without further ado, on with the video. Today we are going to be looking at addition, and addition in hexadecimal through signal strength, and this is quite fancy, but before we get on to these more complicated designs for full adders, we've got to look at half adders. Now half adders in signal strength work very much the same as half adders in binary. And if you don't know how half adders work in binary, there's a very good tutorial series by someone else. I've forgotten their name right at the moment, but I'll put a link on the video at the moment and in the description, and go and check theirs out. They do a whole series on mathematical redstone. It's really, really good. Anyway, without further ado, for a half adder, we are going to need two circuits. The first circuit is the basic adder that we saw last week. It wasn't even a week ago now, was it, actually? Never mind. Like so. With an input here, comparator. Doob-doob-doo. And oh, 3 more blocks here. Oh, there we go. This one needs to be on subtract mode too. There we go. So that's the basic addition circuit we saw last week, and we saw there was a problem with this addition circuit as well, is that it struggled with overflow. If it went over 15, we still just got 15 as the answer. So, to add definition to this range from 16 to 30, we need another circuit. And this is quite similar, but different. So, if I can just get these in the right place. Again, we're taking the complement or inverse of one side and the value of the other. But this time, we're subtracting the other way round, and we're not taking the inverse of the final thing. So if we do this, this is the second circuit. And I'll just wire up some inputs and outputs to this so we can see what's occurring. Okay, here we have the inputs and output wired up quite nicely, and we can see if we just put values up here, we get still nothing out of the output. Even when we get all the way up to 15, we get nothing out of the output. But if the sum of the inputs goes over 15, say to 16 here, we get 1 from the output. If we put this on 15, we get 15 from the output. And if we were to take things off this side, taking 5 off there, we get 4 off there rather, we get 10 for the output. And if you mess around with this, you see that this little circuit here is giving us 30 minus the sum of the no, it's not doing that. It's giving us the sum of the two inputs minus 15. I don't know what I was talking about before then. Apologies. So, between these two circuits, we have detail on the entire range from 0 to 30 of the sum. And also, if we take 1 off this, we see that we get the sum of the inputs minus 16, if we started from here, say. Now, that's useful, because if the sum of the inputs is more than 16, the output for the half adder needs to be the sum of the inputs minus 16, with a carry out function generated, because we need to carry 1 into the next digit, which is just basic maths. So, we can combine these two circuits, and if I just, well, the first thing we can note is the easiest way to combine these two circuits is obviously if we turn one of them around and link them up that way, so we've got one output going this way and one output going this way, and the inputs coming in from here and here. Obviously this isn't massively useful to us because we've used up all the sides and there's nowhere to put the next half adder. So yeah, that's not hugely useful. We can stack them vertically though, and that's significantly more useful to us. So if we come up here, because we like working in the air, don't we? And there we go. Take these as our two inputs. we can wire these into blocks like so, and this will allow us to split the input into two, as we know. So the top and the bottom are mirrored here. Now if on the bottom we construct the basic half adder, okay. Yes, I'm glad I didn't record it, certainly. It was quite loud. So, there we go. A subtractor here. Another subtractor here, taking the inverse with a redstone block. Good, good, good. There we go. So that's the basic half adder. I mean the basic adder. And then we can layer the other circuit on top. Like so. Now you'll notice that we have two comparators here and two subtractors here, and that the bottom and top are doing exactly the same thing on both sides. And if you were particularly into compressing redstone, this is, just as a note, this would be a really good place to start, because, oh wow, I don't know what's happening here, sorry. Okay, we had a technical difficulty there. But as I was saying, if you were into compressing redstone, this would be a really good place to start, because you can see that the top and the bottom signals are doing exactly the same thing. So there isn't really a need to split them beforehand. It would be quite awkward to fit them in. I've tried and I can't manage it. But yeah, if you want a bit of a challenge, try doing that. And that will also reduce the time taken by this half adder by 1 tick, which will be really good because it'll take it down from 4 to 3 ticks. Anyway, here we go. And that gives us an output here. And if we take a repeater off this side, this tells us, well, this repeater is on if the output is 16 or more, because this top circuit only has an output if the sum of the inputs is 16 or more. So if the output is 16 or more, we don't want to be transmitting this bottom signal, because it'll just be on 15 all the time. So instead of that, we can put a gold block here, because we're going to be using a piston. Pistons and gold blocks. Yay. There we go. So that cuts off the bottom output if the top output is on. Now we can also say that in this same situation we want a carry out, and we can construct the carry by doing this, and that's very easy. And then we want this signal -1 to be the output down here, as we saw before. So if we take a block here, this will be the strength of this signal, and then we can reduce it by 1 by just make it travel 1 block. So that's it reduced by 1, wire it into this block and into a comparator going this way. Oh, and there we go, that's our basic half adder. This signal will match the... I keep falling. This signal will match the sum of these two. Now we have one set up over here already with inputs and outputs. It's like Art Attack, isn't it? Or Blue Peter, maybe. So, if we input 15 into 1, we get an output of 15. And then if we increase this by 1, so we're getting 16, we get an output of 0 with a carry. And the carry to the next digit is worth 1 in the next digit, which is worth 16 in this digit. So that is a total of 16. Then say we want to add 2 here, which is 15 plus 3, i.e. 18, which is also 16 plus 2. So yes, you can see that this is working fine. There's an extension to this though. This is a half adder, and those of you who know addition will know that after a half adder comes a full adder. And the full adder takes into account a third variable, because here we have 2 variables, input A and input B for this digit. The full adder takes a carry in. Like this has a carry out, we sometimes, well, whenever we have more than one digit, the second digit will have to take the carry out from this adder, which will be the carry in from the next. So we're going to just go and stack some of these half adders up and then make the full addition logic. Here we go, some nicely pre-stacked half adders. You'd almost think I'd done this before. Actually, I have, several times. So, to do the full addition logic, we're going to start with the second digit, because this already has a carry in from the carry out of the first digit, and its carry out will be the carry in of the third digit, so it's the general case. And we want to take this value here, which is the value of the second digit. Now, if the second digit is not 15, then if the carry-in is 0, we can just take the value, and if the carry-in is 1, we can just take the value plus 1. If it is 15 and the carry-in 0, we can also just take the value. So we'll wire this bit up first, and this isn't necessarily the most compact way of doing this. In fact, the half adders aren't the most compact way of doing this, but it's a fairly logical way of doing it, as in it should be easy to follow for you people, which is really what I'm after with these videos. So, here we go. This is just bringing the signal through to here, and again, sending it through to this block, and a comparator down here. Now, this is really bad practice, and I'm going to say that beforehand, but the way to avoid this is a bit awkward and not quite as logical. But the bad practice here is that we are going down, and it's really easy to send signal strength downwards. Or at least it's much easier than it is to send signal strength upwards, which takes quite a lot of space. So ideally, in your designs, you don't want to be dropping much. And a design that drops less, with exactly the same delay and logic and everything, is preferable to a design that drops more. Just wanted to get that out there. And so, let me carry on down here, just with the standard logic. And now, if we want to add 1 to this, if we have a carry in, there's no really simple way to do that with comparators. The easiest way is to invert it, take 1, and then invert it again. So we'll do that here, or we'll allow for that here, rather. So there we go, redstone, and then we want this to go 2 directions. Here we have the value taken with 1 taken off, rather, and here we have the value. Then if we put comparators here, a block here, and a gold block here, and that allows us to wire these both into the same place. And if we want to add 1 to the value, we can just remove the gold block, which we will do with a piston. Note that gold blocks, of course, don't have to be gold blocks. This is just my shorthand for movable blocks, because it makes things easier to see. Now we need to invert this value again, of course, because we've not got the actual value, we've got the inverted value. I hope that came across wrong. I had a bit of a hiccup there. Hope that came across right, rather. So, as we can see, we've got 0 in at this end, all the way over here, and we've got 0 out at this end. If we remove the gold block, we get 1. As you can see, that's lit up a light, but if we carry it 1, it doesn't light up a light here. I'm not sure if you can quite see that. There we go. So, that is the most basic case of carrying. Unfortunately, there are some more complicated cases. So, the first more complicated, well, really the only more complicated case is if this is equal to 15. So we can put a... I keep falling, I really do. If we put a comparator up here, comparing this to 15, so this comparator will only give an output if the input is 15. And then we can stick a block here, and if we get a torch out, That was probably not the best thing to take out of my inventory, since I'm going to use that now. Put a torch there. So this sticky piston will only be retracted if the input or the output of this circuit is 15. That's nice to know that. Now we will wire the carry out of the previous digit into this. So there we go. And this is going to be a demultiplexer. Or is it a multiplexer? It's a multiplexer rather. And by a multiplexer, what I mean is that if the piston is down, the signal will go straight on through, and if the piston is up, the signal will come down here instead. And that is handy because it allows us to branch the program. Now, if the piston is up, i.e. if this is 15, then we want a 0 put out here, because we want a 0 put out here if we have carry in, because 15 plus 1 is 16, which is a 0 in this digit and a carry in the next. So we can wire this down here. There, to a piston which cuts off this signal. We could also just input 15 into the side of this comparator now that I've thought about it, which would probably be a better way of doing it. Oh well, this is slightly faster. And that will cut off the signal and give us a 0 out here. If the piston is down because it's not 15, then we want our carry to function normally and just add 1. So we can bring this wire round here. Oh, our gold block has disappeared from here. That was what was confusing me. And if we just carry this wire onto here, put a piston underneath it. There we go. So now this will add 1 if the previous carry is on and the input is not 15, and if the previous carry is on and the input is 15, it will set the output to 0. Now the other thing we need to do is, if the previous carry is on and the input's 15, we need to set the carry out from this digit to 1. It'll already be 0 because it can't have an input of 15 and carry out from this digit, because that would mean that the sum of the two inputs, 15 and 15 at the maximum, was 31, which would be quite difficult. It's actually impossible, of course, just in case you didn't catch the sarcasm there, which I'm sure you all did. So yes, so we need to take this carry out signal, and the easiest way to do that is just to come down here, back to here, I believe, yes, up and out, with a repeater here. So that means that the carry takes 1 tick, which is very nice. It's almost instant carry, but the wiring isn't long enough in this orientation, unfortunately, to manage instant carry. It's close, though. Now, the reason this comes out to here is because if we bring this carry out line for the next digit down in... Oh dear, I stopped recording there, that was unfortunate. There's a problem with having a record button on your mouse. So yes, if we bring the carry out line from this next digit down, the same as we did for that digit, it comes down here and out, and as you can see, the carry out from the previous digit is pushed onto the next digit, which is exactly what we wanted. Well, actually, technically, this is already the carry out from this digit. We're setting it to 1 because the logic is stepped across this way. And if we were to take a carry in to the start here, it gives us a full adder of 4 digits. So the carry in to the start would come in here. Or, actually saying that, would it come in? What am I doing here? No, sorry, this would be the carry out from the first digit would wire into here, and the carry into the first digit would wire into this logic if it was placed across for the first digit. But yes, this is the full addition circuit, and hopefully that was logical enough for you. If we come across here, we can see the same thing, except it's put out in all of the digits. Here's one I've made earlier. This was actually the first full adder I constructed, because it was the logical way to go about it. And if we just set all the inputs to 0 for a moment, you can see we have the carry in here coming in as if it were a carry. Well, we would have a repeater here. If it was the same as the others, we'd just have a repeater pointing into this block, but since we don't need the stuff on top, we can just set it directly. So here's our carry in, and then we have the other 4, so let's give ourselves 2 numbers. Actually, I don't really fancy doing the numbers, so we'll just say 15 plus, what have we got here, 4. 15 plus 4 is equal to 3 plus 1 on the next digit, which is right, because it's equal to 19, which is 16 plus 3. If we were to carry in, that would be 15 plus 4 plus 1 is equal to 20, which is, what? Oh, sorry about that, no. This is 14 plus 4, which is equal to 18. As we can see, we've got 18 here, and the carry in makes it up to 19. Apologies for that. And then the next digit, we have a carry in here too, so let's say the next digits were 3 and 4, so this should be 7 plus 1 is 8, which is what we get out there. Good. And then let's say we have that's a 12 and 15, which should give us a 11 with 1 carried over, which is what we've got there. And then for the last digit, let's say 7 and 7. Oh no, 7 and 8. I believe that's 7 and 8, which should give us 0 with 1 carried over, because 7 plus 8 plus 1 carried in is 16, which is 1 in the next digit. So yeah, you can see we've got a carry out here. And this all functions, I believe, in 11 ticks for the whole thing, or maybe it's 12 ticks, I can't quite remember. But it's quite fast. Not hugely fast, not as fast as a binary adder, but considering this is a 16-bit addition, it's very small. Not as small as you can make it, but very small. This is another design for a 4 hexadecimal number full adder, and I am going to include this as a schematic in the schematics folder for this episode. And this is exactly the same as that, only it has 1 block of drop instead of 5, I think, and it also has... It occupies less space. It's 1 block shorter and 1 block shorter in that direction too. So it's a more compact design, but less easy to follow. But you can have a look at this. This is probably what I'll actually use if I create a calculator out of this stuff. But yeah, I hope you've learnt something from this. I'm sorry if it was quite an in-depth episode and you couldn't quite follow some of it. Maybe you can go and watch again, or maybe you can watch the video series that I've linked at the start of this and in the doobly-doo, which is an incredibly good introduction to mathematical redstone. Can't stress that enough, how good that is. It goes through all of the technical terms and why certain adders are faster than others and absolutely everything. You should check it out even if you're good at it. I watched the entire thing through even though I know what adders are, and I learnt something quite a bit. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye!